There's quite a few things that we're covering today. During the next hour and a half, 2 hours, we will be building one experience. So we'll talk about first, like, what is it? And a little bit, how it overlaps and how it's different from some of the other ArcGIS products that we've talked about. Then we'll fire one up, start configuring it, add some maps to it, add a list to it, make it more interactive. To look at legends, bookmarks, add some more like mapping widgets to it, color it, kind of maybe brand it with your own colors for your own agency. We'll talk about the header, how you can customize that. We'll add a second page to it. We'll just talk about menus. And then finally, I'll show you how to create a picture gallery. And I am really just scratching the surface here. And right off the bat, I must say that of all the different ArcGIS products that I have taught you about and worked with, this really has been the hardest for me just to kind of wrap my head around. And so actually having to put this together helped me greatly understand it better. But there might be people out there that have tried it and may know some things about Arc's Experience Builder that I don't know. So feel very welcome to speak up and share if you have any other tips as we go along. So having said that, I don't think that you should dismiss it. Of all the different products out there, I would say this is the one that lets you customize the most and really give it your own feel and your own touch. So with that, let's just talk a little bit about what Experience Builder is. And just looking at the right here, you can see that there are 3 different screenshots of web pages, and they're all very different. And one that struck me particular was this Heinz Field Explorer, where it has like a seat map in it, but when you just look at the face of it, it barely looks like a map. And you don't even have to put maps in an experience builder. It could just sort of be tucked somewhere in there. This one from the Netherlands shows over time the number of COVID cases, and it's sort of tied into a slider. It has, in this case, a text field in it that keeps track and keeps updating depending on the time that you put in. A list on the right-hand side of different communities and how many cases there are. So this is not quite a dashboard, but it's getting more dashboardy. And then something like this here looks similar to something that you could create in a story map. But they all have their sort of pros and cons. So in essence, it is a tool to build web applications. You can embed 2D and 3D maps. You can have your map interact with other parts of your web application, sort of similar to dashboards. It's extremely flexible. Nearly everything is configurable, which I think also makes this just a little bit harder to learn and navigate. So either your map applications or web applications can be map-centric or not map-centric. And it is actually really good for helping you design applications that are specifically there for a cell phone. And I see that Jeff just put something in the comment here. He said the templates don't have as many widgets as a web app builder. I would argue that this one is even a little bit more adaptable and flexible, even than web app builder. But yes, there might be some widgets that could be found in a web app builder that you're not finding here. Okay. So just to kind of put them aside, so a web app builder, I would argue, is very map-centric. You start with the map, you turn it into an app that's built around this map. So Experience Builder can actually create similar products as web app builder, but then it also does more things. We did the hub class last month, a couple of weeks ago. And so both of them uses cards and widgets. So you start with like a blank screen, and then there's this little plus in the corner, and you start dragging in cards and widgets, and you basically just start building up your website that way. So that's the same. The hub is very community focused. So between those two, I would argue anything where you're doing community outreach, the hub would be better. For starters, if you work for a state agency, you can actually take advantage of the hub premium, which comes with hub licenses, which are in essence named user licenses. So if you have volunteers in the community, you can give them basically an ArcGIS license, a named user license, which means in essence that you can put them in a group and share information securely that you might want to share with this volunteer, but not with the whole world. So for the premium, I have to thank the Department of Health and Welfare for purchasing that for us, and the Department of Parks and Recreation for purchasing additional hub licenses, which are $1 a piece as opposed to $500 a piece. So the Experience Builder doesn't have widgets for events. It doesn't have the open data. But I would argue that Experience Builder is a little bit more flexible to actually build like a nice web experience. The story maps, I would say it overlaps a lot with story maps. I think that you could create web applications that are almost identical between the two of them. Now, I found in story maps, they have more cool little tools like, the little slider maps. So if you have, for example, a hurricane comes through, you could have like a map the before and after, which I haven't seen that in the Experience Builder. Now, remember, just like with the story map and the hub, the Experience Builder also allows you to embed pages. So technically, you could create a story map with a beautiful slider in it, and then use that and embed that into an experience. And then finally, dashboards. So Experience Builder does actually have a template that looks a lot like a dashboard. I don't think it works as well as a dashboard, and it's a little bit harder to configure. So I would argue if you're creating a dashboard, just use dashboards, the product. Again, you can create a dashboard and then just embed it into an experience. But Experience Builder is similar to dashboards, that you can have different elements interact with each other. So that was the cool thing about dashboards, right? You just click, let's say, on a county on the map, or on a county on a list. You set a filter, you pick a county, the map zooms to it, and if you have any indicators or graphs, they interactively change to just show the features for just that one county. So to a certain extent, Experience Builder can do that too. And I would say perhaps it's just my inexperience with Experience Builder that I can't make that work really nicely, but it could be possible. Anyway, hopefully I can show you enough today to get you going and get you working on it. So one example of an Experience Builder can be found on our website. So this is all done in Experience Builder. I just embedded different maps. I created a menu so you can go in between different mapping applications. Our map of the month has buttons at the top that basically just direct you to different maps of the month. So this would be an example of an Experience Builder, and it would be hard to build something like this in Hub, Story Map, or even something similar. Okay, so let me go and close this out and go back to my PowerPoint. So as we go through it, you'll see that there's sort of like a fairly easy workflow. So you start out, you pick a template that's sort of as close to sort of the layout that you're thinking about. Once you have that, you start clicking and dragging cards and widgets onto that template, or you can even start just with the blank template, and then you click on each one of those widgets and you start to configure those. That's the progression, the workflow right here, which sounds similar to story maps, right? Where you also do the same kind of thing. So with that, let's just jump in and get started. So I am going to open up a browser. So let's use this one here. There we go. And I need to close this out so I can see what I'm doing here. So let's start by getting some content ready. And it tells you to open up a browser and go to the Living Atlas. So let's go right there. And I like using that because this way I know that all of you have access to the data and I don't have to worry about shipping it out to you. We all have access to this. Plus, it's just a really cool site. So I think the more time we sort of spend here for a bit, the better. So my plan is to, with you, build an entire experience based around the drought that we are experiencing in the Western United States. So we'll be putting together some maps and an app that are all related, and pictures as well related to the droughts that we have here. So with that, you should have been able to download the workbook online. Let's get started. So I opened up the Living Atlas and I am going to do a search for drought. All right. And actually the USA monthly and seasonal drought outlook, I think is a really good map to get started with. So we click on the dots, and honestly, I don't know if there's like a specific name for those dots. One of the attendees at some point thought about croissants when she saw it, so I like that. I'm just going to go with that. So click on the croissants, and then open it up in a map viewer. So that basically just fires up ArcGIS Online. So let's go ahead and sign in to our ArcGIS Online account. So I'm signed in. And I'll just go ahead and save my map. If you don't see this, you can just click on Save and then go to Save As. Okay, so a good name for it is USA Monthly Drought Outlook. And I would like you to put your initials at the end because many of you belong to the same organization. It's nice if we can sort of distinguish them. So your initials will do that. So for tags, I'm just going to put in Experience Builder because that's the class that we are in. It's an experience about drought, so I'll put that in. And one thing that I'd like to do, as some of you know, if this is just a temporary, I'm just trying it out kind of project, I'd like to put in a tag like temp or temporary, because then, you know, if I go through and I clean out my ArcGIS Online account, which we all should do at times, it's no fun to do, but we should. I can just use this tag, find all the items that I can just safely delete. So I'll go ahead and save my map, and I'm just going to save it in my root folder, which is typically where I like to put things that are just temporary. All right. So I am on the slide number 8 here, which is probably a slightly lower number. To help make it easier to orient ourselves, I mean, and I can just kind of tell where we are right here. This is Western United States. I am going to add in some state boundaries. And I would like to do that now too, because as one of our first exercises, we're going to create a list of different counties of states. And then when we click on one of those states, it will actually zoom our map right to it. So we need to add in a layer that will make that happen. So click on Add, and let's go to Browse Living Atlas Layers. And I would like to do a search for state boundaries. Okay, and the one that I like is the USA states generalized. So I'll just click Add on that. Okay, there they are. So now one, of course, of the problem that I can see is that I cannot see the drought underneath anymore. So I will have to work a little bit to make this hollow. So click on change style. I don't need to color all my different states a different color, so show location only will work just fine. Click on options. Then when I click on the symbol, I can change the fill and the outline. So for the fill, I am just going to choose no color, and I'm fine with the orange outline. So click OK on that, and OK again, and done. So when we pulled this in, I mean, you probably saw, and it makes sense, that there are states for the entire country. But I am more particularly interested in just those states over here. So either I can set my filter inside the experience, or I can set my filter right here. So I'll just go ahead and set my filter right here. So this is also a good review of some of the other things that we covered earlier. So what I would like to do is create a filter. So click the add another expression 5 times in a row. So there's like 6 expressions all in all, because there's already one there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to set it so that it will display features that match any of the following expressions. And then I'll go through and say, okay, state is Idaho, state is California. So I'll change that. Now, looking at the fields here, I know that the field I'm looking for is name, the name of the state. And then over here, I can click on unique. And instead of having to scroll through the entire list, I'll just put in a capital I and pick up Idaho. So I will go through and just, to do this conveyor belt style, I'll just go down and change all the first ones to name. And then on the way back up, I'll just put in the different states. All right. So looking at the states, let's put in Washington. And for this one, I want to put in Oregon, California, Utah, and Nevada. And then when I apply my filter, you can tell and I'm also looking at Nebraska. Interesting. That should be Nevada. There we go. Okay, so this is looking good to me. So I'll go ahead and save that. So in step 22, I clicked apply filter. I saved my map. So for the second map, let's go back to the Living Atlas. And my tab is still open, so I'll go back there. And there was another drought-related map that I'd like to include. So I want to find one about precipitation. And to make sure I'm just seeing the maps, I'll click on maps. And it's the first one right here, the standardized precipitation index. So I'll go ahead. I'll open it up in the map viewer again. All right. I'll click on my content. And I would like to show the drought on a monthly basis. So this is the drought, or this is the precipitation, and the inverse would be the drought. This is calculated how far it is from normal based on a monthly average, based on a 3-month average, and this would be based on an annual average. So let's take a look at this here. I'll zoom in a little bit closer to the Western US. Okay, let's see. Yesterday, it was the monthly ones that had a lot of data in it. They must have updated it. Anyway, it will work. All right, let's go from here. All right, so in step 27, it says sign into your ArcGIS online account. So I need to sign in again. I will do that. Honestly, it would be nice if you're signed in on one tab. It would be nice if it just signed you in on all your tabs that were there. Okay, but we're signed in, so that's good. And again, I just want to make sure that I have my my monthly numbers on there. Okay. So I'll go ahead and save this map as well. And for the title, what I'll do is I'll just add my initials at the end here. And I'll add my temp tag. And then I can go ahead and save it. So it's the SPI, which stands for the Standardized Precipitation Index. It's the difference between the expected precipitation compared what actually fell in rain. All right, so with that, let's finally fire up our experience. So let's go to our content page. And the easiest way to get there is just to click on Home and then click on Content. And the reason I wanted to go there is that's the page that has the waffles on it. So right here, click on the waffles and then click on Experience Builder. All right, so you can see I've already worked on a couple of them. So let's go ahead and create a new one. So it is possible to create your own templates, which is going to be real handy if you want to create many of the same experience, or if you have some, colors that belong to your agency that you would like to reuse over and over again. And so when you look here, you can tell there's a lot of standard templates. And so there's differences between those that are full screen. So they're on your screen, but you can scroll them up and down. The screen's the screen. Or you can use a scrolling one where there's, the scroll on the right-hand side, and you can just keep going and going and going and put as much on there as you want. Then there's some that are map-centric, and then others that are not map-centric at all. For example, you can see some templates at the bottom here that don't even have a map on it. Then you have some of them that start to look like dashboards. So, but for now, let's pick a map-centric one so we can show off the map that we just created, and pick the jewelry box. Now, one thing that's kind of nice, when you hover over it, it will give you a little description of what it is. And let's just go ahead and create a jewelry box. Okay, there we go. So I am going to show you one slide, this one here, just to kind of highlight some of the different pieces that we're looking at here. Let's swap that over. And let's just move on just a bit. Okay, here we go. So first of all, there's a couple of buttons on the left here. So the top one we'll be using a lot. This is where we click, and then we're presented with a whole list of widgets, and we can click and drag them over onto our main screen. This over here is where you can add data to your project, and I think it works best if you actually go ahead and add your data in there first before you start using it in any of the other widgets. This one here, this painter's palette, is where you set your theme, and you can set colors. You can add your custom colors as well. Then there are a couple of things related to page items. So this one over here, I'm sorry, this should actually point to this icon right there. That's the page. As soon as you click there, you see this window. You can add new pages along the top, so we'll do that at some point. And one thing that looks confusing at first, but that's actually really kind of handy, is on the left-hand side, it gives you just an overview of all the different elements that are on your screen and how they're nested inside each other. So, for example, we have a fixed panel, which is the whole thing. And then we have an image, a text, a widget controller. This is the widget controller right there. And then we have our sidebar, which is this piece right there. The second sidebar, which has then a map widget on it. And so you can keep using and opening and closing the little arrows here to get more or less visibility. So it is kind of handy at first. It's kind of confusing to look at. Okay, along the top too, it will tell you if your map is published or not. If you have saved changes but not published them yet, it will just give you a warning here that you have unpublished changes. One of the things that we will be configuring is the header. You can lock and unlock your layout. So what that means is that once you lock this, you're not able to grab this map widget and move it around, or even grab this text widget and move it around. And so sooner or later, you're going to try moving stuff around and you're like, it's not working. And that is probably because you locked your layout. So after you put everything where you like it, then you can just go ahead and lock it so all the pieces stay where they're supposed to be. The live view is very handy, just try things out. So for example, after we set up the list, when you click on it in design mode, it will just open up the different text boxes and you can work with it. But if you click on live view, you can actually try the functionality and make sure that it works. You can view your experience on different devices. So if you're designing something specifically for like a cell phone, a mobile device, then you can just click there and basically just build the entire experience to make sure it looks good on a mobile device. Then on the right is where most of the magic happens. It's your settings panel. There's 3 tabs in there: content, style, and action. So the content, for example, the map, you have to tell it, okay, what goes in there. Then the style will say, okay, what does it look like? And then the action is, okay, what does it do? So for example, if I zoom in the map, does it do anything? Does it impact any of the other elements? So what you see here, there's a list widget right there. The map widget, which is actually not a map. This map widget actually contains 2 maps, which is how we will set it up. A layer widget, a legend widget, a bookmark widget, and this is essentially what we're going to be building the next little while. Okay, so with that, let's just start working on it. I'm going to move this out of the way again. And so let the configuration begin. So for starters, let's just give this a different name than Untitled Experience 4. So I'll call it Drought in the Western USA, and I'll just put my initials in here as well. And of course, I got there because I clicked on this little pencil here. Okay, so right now my layout is locked. So if I wanted to go and move stuff, it's kind of frustrating. I can move nothing. So I'll unlock that. And then let's just go ahead and actually click here. And I'm going to change the title. So I think a better title is Drought in the Western USA. All right, and I can see much of that. So what I'm going to do is click on the subtitle and see, as I am clicking here on the left-hand side of the screen, you can tell that I am highlighting different text boxes. So I'll just go ahead and actually delete this piece here. And I really would like to delete that. And now I can grab the corners of this one and make it big enough that I can actually read the entire title. Okay. So right now, this one here is called page 1. So I think we can just give this page itself a better name. If you are just creating the one page, that's it, nobody will ever see it. But because we're going to create multiple pages, it's probably a good idea to change the name. So I'll click over here and I will rename that to Drought Maps. Okay. You can also see the little house on the side here. So if you have an experience with multiple pages, the page that has the little house on it will be the first page that they see, the home page. So let's add some data to our experience. Specifically, here, click on data and add data. Specifically, we are going to add those two maps that we just worked on in ArcGIS Online. And I can select both of them at the same time. So once I select both, I'll click done and they're being brought in. Now, this map widget knows nothing about them just yet. That's why you don't see them. But at least they're now part of this experience. Okay. So in step 4 of the 5th chapter, we want to make sure that both of them are added in here. So in step 6, let's just go ahead and start configuring this widget. So to activate it, I can either click on page and then go to my map widget, or I can simply just click on it. So where it says here widget controller, that's actually this piece right over here where you can control all the pieces that people can click on and interact with the map. Okay, so I clicked on the map widget and then I can select the map that goes in it. So I will pick the USA monthly drought map. Okay, there it is. Going further down, I can use the default view, which is not bad because we set it ourselves in ArcGIS Online, or we can click on custom and then modify it. So what I am going to do is I'm going to zoom in just a little tighter into the Western United States. And once I'm happy, I will click OK. Then going down, I can add more tools to it. So I can add a locate button, a search bar. It looks like that's already in there. I can add a widget for layers, a base map selector, a scale bar. So I can basically customize how I like this map to look. And then I can even choose, where I would like those different map widgets to sit on top of the map. So this looks good to me. So I'll just go ahead and click away. So I just blew by step 7. And we enabled and disabled various widgets. So let's take a look at the style. So I'll click back on the map, take a look at the style. So here you have options to either manually set the size of the map, or you can stretch it, or you can set it auto. I like stretch in this case because it's just going to resize depending on the size of the device that people are looking at. I can change the border. There's quite a few things that we can choose from. Okay, so I can even rename this map. Now this would be one of those items. It is helpful to rename it, but only in the context of you understanding all the different items in this list over here. So I'll just call this the drought map. So it's just a way for me to remember, okay, this is the drought map rather than, just map 1. So you can tell it changed it right there. All right. So after that, let's work on the list. So this is the list widget. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And I'll go to the content. So you would always work from left to right on the panel here. So if I don't like this template, and I would say this is kind of big, but it depends on how many items you're expecting in your list. I can go ahead and pick a different template. I can even pick an empty one, but I'll start with this one over here. That just seems to take up a little bit less space. So with that, I can get started. And then it's asking me, okay, what data would you like to put in the list? So select the data. We are working on the USA monthly drought map. And what I would like to do is get a list of the different states that are in there. So we'll refer to that layer that we added in ourselves at the end into our own map. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. If I wanted to, I could change the style and go from there. But this is looking pretty good so far. Although you're probably saying, well, doesn't look that great over here yet. So even though we connected this list to data, it doesn't automatically know what to do with that data. So I don't need any pictures in here. Oh, actually later on I might put in little pictures. So, okay, let's just go ahead and let's click on one of those items here. I can highlight it. And what I would like to do is put in some dynamic content. And I will go ahead and put in the name. So after I put that in and I click away, you can tell it immediately put in all the states. And I realize I am veering off a little bit from the workbook here. So yeah, that's fine. So one of the problems that I can see here is that if I were to look at this list, I would expect this to be in alphabetical order. And it actually looks like it kind of put this in alphabetical order, so that's not bad. If you wanted to put this in alphabetical order and it was not yet, you can actually create a view. And on this view, you can sort it. And so, for example, you can sort it by the name. And then if you were to use this data view one and connect that to your list, it will be sorted. But this is actually not looking too bad. Okay. So let's go ahead and actually let's put a picture in there. So if you look on the left here, it will tell you that we have a list. Then we have the regular. So this is what your text and your image would look like just now. If you select it, you can go ahead and in some cases even style that so it just looks a little bit different. But this is the image here, image 3. And if I go in here and just click on it, it will also highlight that image 3. So let's grab some images. So as you know, I like going to a website called pixie.org. I need to open up a new screen here. Of course, that is sitting like right below my controls for WebEx. I'll go to pixie.org. Okay, and I'll do a search for drought. Okay, I think that gives me quite a few pictures that I can use in my experience. Okay, so I'll start off with this one. And lately they've started putting in more advertisements. So I'm just going to close out of that. Once I have the picture, I will go ahead and save image as. And then what I will do is I'll put a folder on my desktop. And I'll just put that in a separate place, my experience pictures. But of course, you can put this anywhere on your computer. Okay, so I'll just call this my drought one picture. Okay, and let's save that. Okay, I'll leave pixie.org open. I'll get back to it later, and I'll go back to my experience. So I highlighted the picture here. So then on the right-hand side, I go through the same sequence, content. So I can use a static or a dynamic image. So I'll just select an image. I'll go ahead to upload. And I need to go to my desktop, which is where I put it, my Experience Builder pictures, and I'll grab my drought picture. Okay, there it is. So let me see if I can make all that just a little bit bigger. Actually, I cannot. Okay, so I just put in the picture. So that is, we're on topic 7 and we just finished number 7. So we configured the web list. We'd like to add the names of the states. So we've already done that. I showed you how to go ahead and sort that if you want to. And we configured our list widget by putting in the name. So we've done that. Okay. Then perhaps at the end of this, maybe I would like to add in the number of people in each one of those states, which happens to be one of the fields that is part of this layer with the United States. So to make any changes, I'll click on Edit. So that brings this up, and I'll put in the population in 2017. And then I can add more dynamic content. So in this case, the population of 2017. And then when I click away from that, it just gives me that information. So I know this is not the prettiest the way I put it together, but you can do some really nifty things with those lists and put different information in there. Okay, so we can click on the live view. And so this is what it would look like right now. Now, none of this does anything just yet, except just select it on the map. So technically it does something, but it doesn't flash or zoom or pan or do anything on the map. So let me just turn the live view back off. So we should be able to grab the handles and just make it a little bit bigger. And then within there, I can actually grab the handles here, make it a little bit bigger. I can grab the handles of my picture and make it a little bit bigger. And so move it along. Then if I wanted to change the background colors and make some changes to it, I can start styling it, and I can change my fill. Maybe I'd like to make it brown instead of purple. Okay. And even for the text boxes, I can change the background. So under style, I can change the background here. Maybe like a dark red, and I can just customize this any way that I want. All right, so I think we have landed on 8. Let's add some action to the list widget so that when I click on any of those, it will start zooming into this map. So in step 1, it says click on the list, and then let's click on action. So when we click on the message action, that means that as soon as a person selects something, then this map will automatically do something. So the difference between a message action and a data action is that a message action is more passive, whereas a data action is if the user directly does something. Okay, so with that, let's click on a message action and add a trigger. So as soon as something happens in your experience that is a trigger, then something else will happen. And in this case, something that happens to the list is going to trigger something else. Okay, so the trigger will be a record selection change. And so in this example here, you can see we clicked on California and California got selected. So that's the trigger, and it's going to do something with California. So let's go ahead and add a trigger. Oh, sorry. When you click add a trigger, you need to say it what the trigger is. And then based on that, let's see here, we need to add an action to say what it's going to do. So we have our choice. We can filter data records or select data records. And for the widgets, we have only one map widget, which is this route widget. And in this case, I'm going to tell it to do something with that route widget. Specifically, I want you to zoom to it. All right. Then I would like to add another action. And here, see how you can do it automatic, which it basically will just look at the size of the state and then zoom to that. Or you can have a custom one. But let's go ahead and add another action, because I not only wanted to zoom there, I also wanted to flash. Okay. So let's go ahead and save that. And then let's go to our live action and see if that works. So if we click on a state, you can see it highlights it, but it also zooms there. So that is kind of cool with Experience Builder, which you can't really do with the story maps. You can make it look nice, but it's hard to build this interactivity in there. And technically, what you could even do is add in like a text field, like a text widget, and also put dynamic text in that text widget. So for example, if I had a map showing like, you know, the whole area and the number, for example, of vaccinations that have been provided, I could have that in, you know, a text box over here that would say, you know, so many vaccinations. And then when you click on any of those widgets, you can actually have it, you know, filter records. And so basically just only show you how many people have been vaccinated in this selected area. So you can actually build in this interactivity between, you know, widgets all over your experience, which is kind of nice. All right. So with that, let's move on to the next section here. So let's add another map to our widget. So I'll just go ahead and close this. And another trick that I want to show you real quick is if you need to have a little bit more real estate here, you can actually collapse your panel. And then if you click there again in the right-hand bottom corner, you can open it up again. All right, so let's just go ahead and add the other map into this. So I'll go ahead and I'll click again on my map widget. So it's called Route Maps. We went through this earlier, right? When we went into content and we actually told it which map we wanted to have in there. But let's add another map. So a map widget is not so much a map as it is a container that holds maps, like one or more maps. So let's add the other one in there. So let's add in the standardized precipitation. Okay. So I would like to zoom in a little bit closer to the Western United States again. So I'll go ahead and zoom in just a little bit more. I think that's about right. And let me click OK. And let's go with that. All right. You can see I'm still in live view. So if I were to click on this map here, it opens up the precipitation map. If I click on the other map, it shows the drought map. So it's a nice way to tackle this back and forth. And I would assume if you add more maps, you get just a couple more of those thumbprints at the bottom here. Okay, so let me just go ahead and select a state, and let's zoom to it. And then you can tell when I click on my other map, I find myself there as well. So you can see that the activity, the action that we put in earlier applies to both of the maps in the map widget, even though only one of the map actually has that state layer in it. Okay. So we've done that. So let's just add a little bit more stuff to our map widget. So for starters, let's bring in a legend. So for that, you go to the top left. Oh, and the reason I cannot get there, and I'm kind of glad this is happening, is because I'm on the live view. So as soon as I turn that off, there we go. I can actually click on my plus and take a look at all the different widgets, which this is actually the first time that we have a chance to even look at all of them. So we have been working with the map widget. We have been working with the list widget. We have been working with the text widget, because that's what's going on up here. An image widget, which you see right there. I believe there's the widget controller, which is up in the top right corner. So let's just go ahead and add some more widgets, starting with the legends. So I'll just go grab the legend, and I can just drag it right in here. So I can use the handles in the corner to make it a little bit smaller. If I wanted to, I can actually snap it to the side. Let's actually do that. And so this really helps you sort of keep it nice and tidy and organized. And then too, if people are using this on different screen sizes, it will just basically follow the way that you snapped your widgets. Okay, so right now my legend is still pretty empty. So I'll highlight it. Let's see, my legend widgets, here I am. And in my content pane, I need to tell it what to connect it to. So I'll connect it to my drought map. If I wanted to change the colors on here, I can actually do this on my content pane, click on advanced, and change the font and the background of my widget. When I look at the style, it gets more into the specific size of the widget and the border around the widget. And I found this, perhaps is why I thought there was a little bit more of a learning curve, that sometimes it's not intuitive where you can find things like styling. But I guess my philosophy is just look everywhere, push buttons, and see what happens. Which, this is kind of nice. There's an undo button, which comes in really handy. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'm going to save my map, and I'm going to look at it in live view. Okay, there it is. If I click on my other map, it will actually update my legend to match the other map. So let's add the map layers widget. Now, technically, it's already here. But if you wanted to take that out and maybe have it open all the time, you can add a map widget. So I need to get out of my live view, otherwise I can't do anything. Click on my plus, and I am going to bring in my map layers. I'll put it over here. And just like before, I just need to tell it in my content tab, okay, what do I want to show here? Like what data do I want to connect it to? And so there it is. There's some options that I can include with that. And so, yeah, let's pick interact with the map widget. Let's save it, and let's see what it looks like. So there's a couple of ways that you can see what it looks like. So one of them, we've already done the live view and looked at that. You can preview it, which will open it up in a new tab. And show you what's going on sooner or later. All right, well, this is thinking. I can also go ahead and publish it. So right now I can see it's still a draft, and I have a lot of changes that I've saved, but that I have not published yet. So I published successfully. This changes into published. And then if I wanted to, I can actually view my published item. And hopefully those pop up a little bit faster. Sooner or later. Okay, let's see if the other one popped up. Nope, still thinking. I think it's because this is a demo. And the more people see it, the slower it goes. Anyway, okay, but let's move on. So I want to add one more thing, which is a bookmark. So let's bring in the bookmark widget. So click on the plus, find the bookmark widget right there. Let's bring it in. And here again, I can pick from different templates. So of course, this would depend on how many bookmarks you have. And just, I'd like to keep it simple. So I'll just put in a list of bookmarks just like this. Okay, so at the bottom, it's asking me to click on next. It needs to be connected to a certain map widget. So we'll pick the drought map, and then I can start adding in bookmarks. So for my first bookmark, I'm just going to call this Boise. Then I'll have to go and actually zoom to Boise. Let's see, there's Idaho Falls, Twin Falls, there's Boise. And when I'm happy with my extent, I'll click Save at the bottom right. So there's my first bookmark. Then if I wanted to, I can add in another bookmark. So let's say that I wanted to have one for northern Idaho. I can type that in. And while I highlight it, I can zoom to it. Zoom out first, zoom back into northern Idaho. There's Spokane, so getting pretty close. That's about right. And I'll just hit save. Go from there. Okay, so with that done, what I'm going to do is switch back into my live view. And here are my bookmarks. So this will take me to Boise, and this will take me to northern Idaho. All right. So does anybody have any questions up until this point? So if this seems overwhelming, I would say just stick with it, try it, because there's a logic to the madness here. I mean, it does make sense, and I think, like I said, it's worthwhile to learn how to do this because you can do a lot of things with it. So let's pick some different colors. So we'll click on the theme button on the left-hand side. We can have a default, a dark one, a very light one, a violet one, which is the one I think we were on, and a very, very vivid one. So obviously you can pick the one you like, and I'm just going to go with the, let's see, not the default. Which one do I like? Yeah, I'll just stick with the ink one. But you can also customize this and put in your own colors. All right. So let's work a little bit more on our header because we haven't set the image yet for our header. So the reason that I'm clicking here and it's not working is because I am still in my live view. But as soon as I get off that, I can click on my image here. And then it's just a matter again of picking what I'd like. And I'll just pick the picture that I used earlier. So this would be where you would pick the logo for your organization, right? So next, let's click the header itself. And we can even pick a different background color for this. We would do this on the Style tab. Here you can change the colors of your font, and here you can change the background of your header. All right, and honestly, I'm actually pretty happy with my colors. If I wanted to change that, what I would do is I would double click on it, highlight it, or if I just clicked in here, highlighted it, I could click on the pencil and then it would bring it up. Okay. So let me go ahead and save this again. So I think that we've put enough stuff on this one page. So I think we are ready to add a second page to our experience. So to do that, we need to go to our page tab and click on add a page. And then we can choose what we would like to add in there. So this time, instead of a jewelry box, let's just pick a blank full screen. So on this map, I would like to just highlight a drought-related web app that somebody else has made. And that's all I want to have on here. So that's going to be super easy. So let's go ahead and let's do go back to Arc the Living Atlas. We do a search on drought. So that's still there. Earlier, we set a filter so it would only show the maps. But in this case, let's just remove that filter. And this time, I would just only like to look at apps. So I can tell that there are 13 drought-related story maps. And the one that I would like to highlight is this Esri drought tracker. So if I wanted to see it, I can click on the croissant or the dots or whatever you'd call it and open it up. All right, I'm thinking my internet's just being a little bit slow here. There it is. Okay. So I'll leave this map open. And then in step 7, it tells you to leave this open and go back to your experience builder. So we are going to display this drought tracker here. So I would like to rename my page to drought tracker. So I'll just click on the dots, rename, and I will refer to this as not there, here. Rename drought tracker. All right. So now I would have a choice, and basically tell it if this is going to be the page that people see first, or if this is the one right there. Then we need to add the drought tracker into our own app. So I'll bring in an embed widget, which is this widget right here. So I'll just drag it in, and then I would like it to fill up my entire screen. So I will just go ahead, and instead of snapping to all the different sides, I will just say that I would like to put it in full size, take up the whole screen. All right, so then on the right-hand side, I will need to tell it if I'm going to put some code in here. So this is where you can put in like code for like an iframe, or if you want to just put in a URL. So we would have to type that in here. So let's go back to that drought tracker, and go ahead and I'm going to copy that. And here, before you do it, just watch me for just a second. If I were to just put this in, it somehow just provides it as like a phrase that then links it to it. But Experience Builder doesn't like that. So I need to actually put this in exactly the way it says right there. So in my Experience Builder, to do that, I'll just right click. Then I go to paste as, and then I'll just put it in as a plain text. And now I have this HTTPS, and it will be happy with that. Okay, so I'll click away from that, and there is my drought tracker. Perfect. Okay, so we just finished step 15 on the 13 there. So then it's going to ask you how often you would like to refresh this. So I can set a specific interval. Now, don't expect this to change very frequently. So I think if we just update this once an hour, we're probably in pretty good shape. So with that, let's take a look and see what we have now. So we have one experience with 2 pages. So go ahead and save that. I can tell that I have unpublished changes, so I'll go ahead and publish it. All right. And then let's just close those out here. Then I would like to see what it looks like published. So view published item. All right. this is looking familiar. Oh, and finally, you know, my map widget showed up, and I can go to Boise and Northern Idaho. But I cannot get to this drought tracker. I mean, there's no buttons on here where I can actually go back and forth between those two different pages. So I need to put in a menu so I can go back and forth. So let's do that next. Adding a menu to our experience. That is the topic 14. This is actually a lot easier than you would think. So let's click on our pages and let's start over here with this drought maps. And we'll need to go ahead and add a menu to it. So all we do is click on the plus. We'll find our menu. Let me see where the menu is. Right here, about halfway down, menu. And I'll just click a menu up in the bar here. Okay. So we can pick and see what this looks like. So the content will automatically be just your experience and all the pages in your experience. You can choose to have the page you're on be underlined, or you can change it into something called pills, which actually I kind of like because it is just so much easier to see. I would say that the drought tracker here is not very easy to read. So let me click on style and see if we can change that a little bit. I think I'm going to do that a little bit later. Oh, let's go in advanced here. Advanced. And now I can actually pick this text right here. So I am going to set the text color to white there. There we go. So this one here is on the content, and I went down and moved the advanced over. So this is what I kind of mean, where sometimes things seem to be a little bit hidden away. But once you know where to look, it's a lot easier. And I would actually say that those two are not that different from each other. So let me just go ahead and change the color on that. And maybe make that orange. Okay, so we are on the drought map right here. Excellent. So now if we were to go and use this, and let me just go ahead and save it, we are able to go from the drought map to the drought tracker. Now, once we're on the drought tracker, we cannot get back to the drought map. So we'll have to do the same thing on the other page. So let me go to the drought tracker. And just like before, I need to go in, scroll down just a little bit until I find the menu, or it's about halfway down. Just move this near the top. There we go. I can choose what this looks like. And now we're on the drought tracker. If I wanted to, I can actually just style it and make the background perhaps a different color, so all this stands out just a little bit more. So let me just pick a different color and see what that looks like. Okay, and I know I didn't pick the best colors. This is where you could probably just get carried away and try all sorts of different combinations until you find what you like. So let's see if this worked. So I'll go ahead and save it. I will think I still have a published version on the other browser tab. All right, let's see what we have. Okay, looks like this is still an earlier version. So let me just close this out. And I published it, publishing. Have I done that? Published, that's good, that looks good. And then we'll just look at the published item. Okay, so this will allow us to move back between our two different pages. So this will show up at some point, I am sure. There we go. Just when I was hitting it, and then we can go back and forth between the two. Ah, okay, it will work. I promise you. So that actually brings us to the last thing that I would like to do here. I want to add a little bit more in terms of navigating between different things. So let's go ahead and add in a new page. And this time, we're just going to add in another blank full screen. And I'll call this pictures. All right. Okay. So let me go to pixie.com and we can download a couple more drought-related pictures. So for example, let's see here, this looks like a fairly empty reservoir. So I'll click on it and then save my image as, goes back in the same folder, and I'll just call this drought 2. And then let me go ahead and actually just find one more picture. Let's see. Well, this one here looks pretty dry. So let me just go ahead and save that image as well. So I'll just call this drought 3. Let's save all that. Okay. All right. So with that, I'm going to help organize this, and I'm going to put a row widget at the top. Now, in this case, I think we can get away with not doing that. But I do like those row widgets because it makes it really easy to put things next to each other sideways. So you can have like an image and then something else and then maybe something else on the right. It really helps, you position things along there. So once we have that in, let me go ahead and we'll put the navigation later on in there. All right. So for the picture gallery, what we're going to do is we're going to add a section underneath it. So I'm just going to grab my handles, make it about the same width. There we go. And here's my section. So one thing that maybe you notice right away is that we have views in there, and we can go back and forth between those different views. So each one of those views is going to be a picture. So on the settings pane on the right here, we have our first view, and I'll just go ahead and click on the paintbrush and choose an image that I can put in there. So I think the first image is actually the nice one that we already have. That's easy. All right, then I'll just make sure that that just fits. Okay, so I'll click on back, and then I can go ahead and add in another view. So for the second view, I'm just going to add in another picture that I used. Click on the paintbrush, and for this one, I need to go ahead and browse again. I'll need to upload it because I just downloaded it, and I'll pick my reservoir right here. All right, there's my second picture. See, view 2 of 2. I'll click back, and I'll go ahead and add in a third. Click on the paintbrush, grab another image. I'll click on upload, and I'll grab the third one that's there. Okay. So I have 3 different views in here. And it kind of looks like they're all sitting on top of each other, right? Okay, so because we have set this up as a section, we can use this views navigation widget, which always goes with a section. So let's move that along the top. There it is. We can have like different styles, what we would like to have this look like. So I like this one. And you can tell that they are called View 1, View 2, and View 3. Which is probably not the most descriptive. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go back to my content. I'll go back to my section where I can see my 3 views. And I'm just going to rename them. So my first view was the boat in the lake. So I'll just go ahead and rename that. And I think I came up with some names in the workbook. So I'm just going to rename this to the stranded boat. And so rename. All right, my second one here, I'm just going to rename this one to my low levels because this reservoir looks almost empty. And then the third one shows this cracked soil. So I'll just click on the dots, rename it, and call it cracked soil. Okay, there we are. Okay, so let me just save that. All right, and then let's preview it. Notice how it automatically added the pictures to my experience. And here I can look at my stranded boat, my low levels, and my cracked soil. So I would say that the spacing doesn't look quite right, but otherwise this is not bad. Okay, so to make the spacing right, it's mostly this row widget that contains this navigation widget that takes up a lot of space. So for the style, when I say height, I am just going to say auto, and it will automatically adjust to just the size of the widgets that are in there. And then I can actually go ahead and make this section a little bit bigger too. So let me just save that. And then when we publish this, okay, published successfully, we can go ahead and view it published. We have our menu that will allow us to go in between different pages. See, I knew sooner or later it would show up. So it's really there. And go over to the different pictures. And so my goal with this training was to show you different sort of components of Experience Builder. And I realized that you could probably build something nicer than I did. There's actually couple other slides that I want to show you. So let me just fire up this presentation again. No, not the beginning. I want to go all the way down to the end. Display settings. Okay, and go all the way down to the bottom. Oh, I think I just shut it down. Okay. Okay, here we go. So I wanted to go back and actually show you how I did the navigation in that website that I put together for the state. So let me open that up. Let's try the other one. Oh, the experience. That's probably more interesting. Okay. So this is the experience for the map. So for the first one here, this is exactly what we just did, the way I set this up. So I have this views navigation, and then I set up this piece down here. And I need to actually click a little bit further on the outside as a section. Come on. There we go. As a section with all those different views in it. So that's exactly the same way that I did that. Now for the map of the month, I needed to do it a little bit different because I had I didn't want to have all the different maps side by side because it just wouldn't fit on a row and it would look really, really awkward. So I needed a little bit more real estate to put all this in. So what I did, I added in buttons. So I dragged in a button and then I configured the button for setting a link. I can link to, yes, go ahead.
We're not seeing your screen right now.
Oh, okay. Hey, thank you for letting me know that. I didn't realize I stopped sharing.
Worries.
Okay. We should said something earlier. Okay, here we are. Share. It says sharing stopped because monitor 1 has been disconnected. Okay. All right, let's share that one. Okay, perfect. Well, let's just go back here. So my point was that for the first page on our website, And that's the one that I showed you at the beginning. This is what I did. I just set up a section like we did earlier, and then I used one of those Fuse Navigator that works in one of those sections. And then for the maps of the month, I had to do it different. You guys can see it now, right? I think. Can you?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and so for this one, that wouldn't work because there are so many maps on here. Like I would have so many items on this menu bar, and yes, you could scroll through it, but that would get kind of awkward and long and hard to navigate. So in this case, what I did is I used buttons. So I pulled in, a button. So this could be the next map of the month. And then based on that, I can set a link. And the beauty is that I can link to a URL, which is what we did earlier when we linked to this drought tracker app on the second page of the experience that we just built. But I can also link it to a view directly that is part of this section over here on the same page. And then I can just link it directly to the view that's there. So that's how I set that up with buttons and hyperlinks to different parts of the same experience. So just a couple more slides. We'll be done a little bit early today. Okay, so we have finished up our picture gallery. We've set it to auto. Okay, so then the only thing that's left to talk about is what's next. So we skipped the maps for Office class earlier. So that one is now moved till July. Originally, I set it up for July 22nd, but I moved it up 2 days. So July 20. I'll update the surveys to have you guys sign up for that. And if you've already signed up for that, I still have the data. I'll contact you and let you know the WebEx link and the workbook. In the fall, I want to start doing in-person classes. So that would be in Boise at our agency, which is on the Chinden campus here in Boise. So I would like to do this fairly early. So I figured too, since if you want to do this in person, it takes a little bit of effort to come out here. I don't want you just to come for 2 hours. So I figured I can double up and basically do 2 of those trainings back to back. So for the first one, I'll do the ArcGIS Online part 1 and 2, and then survey 1, 2, 3, the whole shebang. Hopefully at a good time of year for you guys. The hub and experience builder we can do in one shot, and then the dashboards and the story maps we'll do in one fell swoop. So this survey will be coming up soon, and so I'll send that out, or actually I'll put it on the website when the gets here. So for the website, it's fairly easy to find. Just go to gis.idaho.gov, which is a nice short URL. When you're there, you can go ahead and click on services, and then it has all the training there. Also, a recording of this training will be posted here fairly soon, as well as the workbook, but you already have that. Now, having said that, I'm going to make a really quick plug that we're doing focus groups for our next GIS strategic plan, and we'd like to hear as many voices as we can. So we still have a couple coming up, so if you've missed it, we have done region 1, 2, and 5 and 6 already. But tomorrow we're doing region 4, and actually just anybody in Idaho can just go ahead and participate. And we really like to hear from you on how we can do a better job moving GIS forward in the state. So with that, that's all I have to share. So thank you all for attending, and hope to catch you at the next training, if not sooner. All right, I'll stop sharing. Thank you. Bye, guys.